Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
It's a 1 in a million shot, isn't it?
It is 1 in a million.
It'll never happen again. Not as perfect as that. That was once again admiring the good fortunes of Sean Gokenauer T-boning the side of that Imperial and having the tire land on top of the carburetor. Happy New Year to everybody. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, episode number 302. On deck for you tonight, Brian, joining us here in studio as well. We're going to be hitting on a bunch of different topics and taking a look at what we've got coming up as we work through the beginning of the 2020 calendar year. And we're also going to be talking with Lexy Droz with Demolition Derby Life magazine. We're going to catch up with her. Quick topic to hit on. Ed Brewster has contracted something, and we don't know what it is. But he's been laid out for a week, and you know how that guy goes. He goes and goes and goes and goes. His motor never stops. He's been a little laid out here over the last couple of days. So well wishes out to him. Hopefully he gets well soon, because in about 8 weeks we all got to turn and head to Harrisburg. He's got to come north. I got to go south to Harrisburg for Motorama. So hopefully he can get well soon. And next week, just a programming note, we're going to be talking with Todd Siopa and Jason Sauer. Jason Sauer was recently featured in another art-based documentary, and obviously Demolition Derby was a big part of his life, and it was a big part of that documentary as well. Christy Germain had shared that in the Mad Dog Motorsports Facebook page, so we're going to be talking with him and with Todd, so we'll be able to get some input on what's happening in Florida.
Cool.
And hopefully maybe we'll be able to key in on some information about what else is happening in the greater Pittsburgh area in terms of Demolition Derby. Namely, of course, the focus of all that region is the Keystone Nationals. So we'll be looking at that. But Lexy Droz is waiting in the wings. Lexy, how are you? Thanks for coming on the show.
Good. How are you? We're
doing all right. So Lexy is the publisher of what I believe is the only print Demolition Derby magazine at this point. And you've got your hands full with it. It comes out monthly online. It's available. DemolitionDerbyLife.com. Tell me a little bit more about the magazine and how it's been received so far.
So far, this magazine has been absolutely life-changing for me personally. It took off so much more than I had expected. I think the first time I ever posted that I was going to be releasing the first edition, within the first 3 minutes, I had already had at least 10 orders for that first edition. So it's kept me busy, but it's definitely been something life-changing and one of my favorite things I have done so far in the Demolition Derby world.
Lexy went to 30 derbies last year.
Yes,
capped off
30.
Capped off the season, finished up in Hemlock, right, for Kings of Old School?
No, I actually finished December 7th in
Oh, that was
Jersey.
Warzone. Was that Warzone?
No, Wall Stadium.
Oh.
Yeah, Wall Stadium.
Gotcha. Derby late in the year. Brett went and ran it last year, 2 years ago. Down on the asphalt.
I didn't even know that Derby was out there.
Yeah. It's always late in the year. It's like the last one in the Northeast. It's on asphalt, so it's a good time.
There's an Enduro at Utica Rome coming up New Year's Day.
Rumor has it.
Yep.
See, the weather's going to be beautiful for it.
which is not great news, really. They want it to be cold and frozen, not like 40 degrees. It's this is not going to be
slippery.
Don't entertain 40 cars on one day and ruin your racetrack for a summer. But hopefully everything goes smooth for those guys. Remember when Ransomville had the hangover?
Yeah. I think they quit doing it when they started burning multiple cars up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the insurance probably went, whoa, hey, this isn't a good idea, and we quit having it.
The Hangover 2.0 is at Utica Rome coming out this weekend, UticaRomeSpeedway.com, so you can find out more on there if you're interested, looking to get a little bit of your combative motorsports fix along those lines. Mike Klinger's been featured in this magazine. He was on the cover of one of the issues. Rick Hansen, the airbrush artist from up this way.
Yep.
He's been in there. Josh Orndorff, Bill Orndorff's boy. LS Nation. He's got a bunch of success down there in the Woodstock area.
Yeah.
Now they've moved out of Woodstock with the Chaos in the Valley Derbies, but he's been featured in there. Do you do all the writing by yourself?
Yes, the only time I have ever had someone else write is I had Christy Germain do a piece on Devin LF swap. She
Sure.
wrote an article on that for me.
Sure.
Cool.
That's cool. They had a big piece on the headline was Return of a Legend with the Keystone Nationals coming back last year. Steve Siopa won that, and I heard they've already got the check made out for him for this year too.
Yeah, he's. I've been talking to Steve about that, and now that he's in the promoter seat and will not be running, somebody different is going to run it or win it. I see Bo Lockwood's got a GM wagon. He's building for that show, so can be a pretty nasty show.
Do you have a background in journalism and in magazine writing and print production or anything like that?
No, I'm actually a freshman in college for visual communication, so that has definitely played a part in putting this together.
So they're giving you some sort of internship credit or something off of this?
No.
Well, they should.
Wow.
No, I started this before I started that program.
Sure. Interesting. The amount of work that you're putting in to put out one issue a month has got to be just overwhelming. That's a ton of copy to cover every 30 days.
It's definitely worth it just to support the community, support the drivers, and everyone who puts in the time. So it makes it easier knowing I'm helping out.
What's your background as far as Demolition Derby goes?
I grew up around the sport watching my dad, and then a few years ago I got to start running myself and kind of got more involved in the business side of things, seeing that there was more than just my local show out there. And I think the first big show we went to was Bash for Cash, and then we started hitting more shows in the season, and now we're up to 30s, like you said.
30's a lot. I can attest to it.
You've done that before.
It's a lot of travel. It's a lot of time in the car, and especially if you're building cars for all those. I mean, are you competing in all those that you're going to?
No, a lot of them we are just going to, either cover the event, promote the magazine, or just, check out what's going on in different areas, what different promoters are doing, meeting new people.
Studying visual arts, is there additional stuff that's forthcoming? Are you going to break out beyond the magazine?
I don't want to give it too much away, but I've got a few things planned to come out in 2020 apart from the magazine that I'm really looking forward to showing everyone.
Interesting. That'll be cool. Yeah, I can only kind of venture to guess where we might be headed with stuff. So that's cool. The reception of the magazine has been strong, and with the looks of things, you've got a pretty good grasp on what's happening coast to coast. I saw there was information about Sin City Showdown. In one of the recent releases, you had information about Juab County Fair being named #1 derby in the world, which that's an interesting result. But nonetheless, I believe so, right?
I thought that was last year.
Yeah, it was voted. I'm not sure what their demographics look like for that poll to see, how many local people had voted versus, everyone all over the place. But in that particular poll, it was the Juab County Fair.
Was that Demolition Derby League's poll? DDL?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was that for last year or this year?
Last year. They have not released this year's
Yeah, I was
yet.
going to say, I know I just saw where you could vote for it this year. So I didn't think results had been out for that yet for this year. But
Did you see Josh was one of the personalities on that list one time?
Yeah. Crash Course was mentioned on it somewhere this year for something.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. I was surprised.
#1 thing to turn off in Demolition Derby.
I was surprised to see that. I can't even remember what we were on there for.
We've never been on there before.
What's that?
We've never been on there before.
Yeah, we were mentioned on there this year.
This year. Interesting.
Yeah. Somebody must
I have
sorry
a
for
Demolition Derby League decal, or not a decal, a patch, down in my basement from when they first came out. When Demolition Derby League first came around, they were doing this ambassador program, and I sat on a derby that was in Washington, on my computer in New York and sort of like facilitated some of the online conversation. It was kind of cool. I only did it one time. I don't know whatever came of that line of thinking, but it was pretty cool.
Nice.
Different.
Yeah, there's seems to be a lot more stuff popping up. The last few years. Seems like the live streaming is really starting to pick up, and a lot more. It's being done for a lot more things. High school sports are a lot of them are being live streamed now.
Well, look at what's going on here in Finger Lakes 1 just with their basketball coverage.
Yeah.
I mean, they're running like crazy this time of year.
Yeah, that's they definitely. I wish they would pick up some football for that, but I'm sure it's not the production isn't cheap to do them, and but it'd be cool to see some high school.
The football thing is a weird deal, but Section 5 is weird anyway. Like they've got all these bizarre from working for the newspaper and stuff. I had to comply to all these agreements, and you're not allowed to air any Section 5 tournament basketball. Like there's certain rights and stuff that they have to it. You can't be live, even if it's just audio only. I guess there's all sorts of weird rules. So I don't know if maybe the New York State Public High School Athletic Association is somehow involved with that, or Section 5 is somehow involved with that. But you would think that somehow they would figure out a way to get high school football out there.
Because when we were, back in the Stone Ages, when we had radio, celestial radio. There was
terrestrial.
That's what I mean. Celestial.
Terrestrial. AM FM.
The now defunct WSFW. They used to carry high school football, usually 2, 3, 4 games a weekend. I mean, they were busy.
Tom Baker, the dude that announces the county fair now. Mm-hmm. He still does stuff, and he's a one-man show now. It used to be quite the undertaking to do a radio remote, but he comes into the little board and patches in through the internet, and it goes back to the studio, and then out to all the FM receivers out there, and he still does radio, but there's no video of it, and I don't know why, but I mean certainly in your travels, Lexy, you've certainly seen the uptick in internet presence and web coverage that's tied to Demolition Derby. How does a print magazine fit into the landscape of all this when everything's increasingly immediate and increasingly digital? How does a print magazine survive?
I thought a few times, especially when I was getting ready to make the first one, if a digital magazine would be the better option, but
sure.
The response I have received from the drivers in getting to see their builds and everything come to life in a magazine is nothing comparable to seeing it in a Facebook post.
It's a digital magazine plays through kind of like scrolling through Facebook.
Yeah, definitely.
But to have something that you can hold in your hand that's tailored to. I mean, let's face it. I don't think there's anybody when it comes to motorsports, whatever branch of motorsports whatever section of motorsports that you fit into, that you are surrounded by people that are as passionate about that as they are anything else on the planet, and Demolition Derby is no different. So to be able to see your car in print, it feels so big time.
Oh, absolutely.
And you had a car that was in print one time, wasn't it?
I think so.
Sure, I don't know.
No idea. I did. Yeah, it was cool.
I thought yours was in the one that was out of New Hampshire.
I think so.
I can't remember his last name, Chris something, but he was up in New Hampshire, and he had one. We're going back into 2009, 2010 even.
Yeah.
And he was punching stuff out that was huge, but he did the same thing that so many vendors and Demolition Derby do. They strike while the iron's hot, and they go like gangbusters, and they end up burning themselves out, and they get overwhelmed. And that's something that everybody, if there's any advice to be given in Demolition Derby, it's manage your pace. Yep, manage your pace. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Are you getting a lot of support from the drivers? Not so much in terms of them buying the actual content, but also with them making themselves available for interviews and readily sharing photos and things along those lines? Or are you doing most of the photography work yourself as well?
Everyone has been super supportive and helpful. Everyone wants to really be involved, and I'm always welcoming new people to get involved, so that's definitely made it a lot easier on me.
That's cool.
Where do you live, Lexy? Where's your home base for Demolition Derbies?
I'm from southern Pennsylvania.
Okay.
You going to Blue Ridge Bash in February?
Possibly. I'm afraid it's going to be too cold.
Billy Monroe is part of the group that's putting that on February the 22nd in Withville, Virginia. Does that sound familiar? Anyone?
Withville, Virginia?
Withville, Virginia, with Raceway.
Okay.
The track up on the mountain. I was the media manager there for a summer back in 2004. I haven't been to Withville, Virginia in forever. So it's going to be neat to see a derby happening down there. February 22nd, and that is another one of the topics that we're going to be getting to as we work through the beginning part of 2020. We're going to have Billy Monroe on the show to talk a little bit about that event that's upcoming. Another one of the big events that's on the radar here with the two Cast in the Valley shows, and now this one. They're going to be busy in Virginia.
Yeah, no doubt. We've talked before about how the Derby season never really ends. Did you see that there's a New Year's Eve Derby now?
No.
I'm pretty sure J.C. Molly's is advertising a New Year's Eve Derby somewhere.
No way. That's cool.
Yeah, so it's definitely, which is nice. It's like sprint car racing. You just go where it's sunny and keep racing.
Right.
That's how it is. They go, Larson and whatchamacallit are over in New Zealand or Australia racing sprint cars as we speak. Mm-hmm. So.
And everybody up here is getting ready for the Chili Bowl. That's right around the corner, and everybody's running that this year. Ryan Newman's got a car.
Yeah, I can't believe Ryan Newman will fit in one of those things. His shoulders are about this wide.
He's a big dude.
Yeah, he's pretty broad shouldered, but that would be a cool race to go to. Not many races excite me anymore, but that one would be cool to go to.
The Gateway Nationals were just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
19th and 20th.
Yeah,
IMCA's.
It'd be cool to have a derby in there, huh?
Yes. You're talking about that New Year's Eve Derby. We're talking 4 or 5 years ago now. I was talking to a promoter out west. I can't remember which one it was. Anyway, they wanted to have a New Year's Eve Derby I almost want to say that the facility was in Idaho, and they wanted to do it on New Year's Eve, and the Derby coincided with the ball drop. That as the ball dropped,
that's when you get out of gas,
right? So your countdown is leading you up to the new year. It was a cool idea. I never heard anything more about it if it ever got off the ground or not. But wouldn't that be neat?
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
That would be a cool one.
Yeah, it's crazy to think the last few years what Derby's done. It's
like sprint car racing. It's basically you crown the champion and you race that night.
Yeah.
To start the next year, and Demolition Derby is the same way with Warzone. Warzone was at the beginning of December, and now we've got one on New Year's Day. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's great to see the sport still gaining momentum. I definitely can't. People can't say it's in a downswing. It's pretty healthy.
What's the build style that you prefer in southern Pennsylvania? It could go one or two ways. If you go more towards the coast, it's a little bit more stock. You go the opposite direction, it can get pretty hefty.
We have a pretty good mix. My local fair is actually in Maryland, and we do stock builds. But then, 20 minutes down the road in Pennsylvania, we have big mod shows. So it's a good mix.
Have you ever? Does Arcadia Volunteer Fire Department still do their Derby series through the summer?
Yes, they did their Derby. They probably did 5 of them after they do the dirt track races. And then at their final event of the year this year, they added a second day to it. They made it a 2-day show and added a team event to it. So that was pretty cool to see them grow. How
are they doing in terms of their car counts?
Derby-wise, the Derby is not the popular event there. It is the circle track racing. But, they've had a pretty good turnout this year. Definitely, I've been going there for a few years now. I've run there a few times, but I think within the past 3 years or so, their car counts are definitely getting up.
Good.
You're getting guys running there who run big events like Blizzard Bash and Bash for Cash, so they're definitely growing. It's definitely one to check out for 2020.
I was down there taping for a DVD date, and they were doing they used the same Derby pit. It's this giant carved out pit, and that's where they have the Derby. They do this like extreme car race thing. It's bizarre. but they like what we saw in Owenton. Remember they had
it's
kind of the same idea, and they had a truck division and they had the cars and stuff, and this dude had a Suburban, and he was racing against an Econoline van, and he basically did a pit maneuver coming off the corner, and the van turned around his nose, so he's T-boning him, almost a full T-bone the whole way down the front stretch, but now the Suburban can't turn either. And they just drove right into where I was filming. They hit the berm, and it's just like the camera. I left the camera there. I bailed out, but it's just looking right at the side of this blue Econoline van. It was
awesome.
It was pretty crazy.
You got the shot, of course.
Yes, it was one of the few times I bailed on the camera. I'm like, I'm not getting squashed by a van today. Not gonna happen.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. It's neat to see, the magazines coming, it has come out, and it's, because people really do, they like you said, it's, I can kind of vouch for it. With the Northeast dirt modifieds, we have a niche, and we don't get a lot of the notoriety. So back in the day when Stock Car Magazine would come out, they always did the big article on Syracuse. That was it.
Stock Car Magazine, Speed Sport News, and then Focused was Gator Racing News, which printed forever. And then they went the way of the online edition, and it didn't sustain.
Yeah, and then
Arcadia Racing News, which I guess sort of like absorbed a lot of what Gator had, and they're still printing, and they put out mammoth publications. But the difference between like Arcadia Racing News, where they're putting out 60-page releases, is they've got people all over the country, or at least all over the Northeast, writing and submitting. They've got their contributors, and then they've got the press releases that are coming from tracks. And we don't have, in this industry, we don't have promoters that put effort into issuing press releases. We don't have, and while that might be general terms, and there might be a couple people out there, in my travels, I haven't come across them besides like Smash It and Ultimate Derby. The information isn't readily available, so Lexy's got to cultivate this and has to do it on her own if she's not got people that are. It is a ton of work to sit at the computer and type out all that copy, and then to turn around and edit all that copy, and then lay all that copy out on the pages and get it presentable and get it out on time. It's no easy task.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. You would know, of all people.
The magazine itself is how many pages are coming out, and are you going to continue on the one-a-month process in 2020?
Yeah, so right now they're right between 50 and 60 pages, each edition is, and that'll probably go up by somewhat, maybe 10 pages adding for 2020, and I'm going to stick to the one a month. I think there's just so much going on. We don't take a break for winter. I think it just needs to keep rolling right on through and cover everything it can.
Well, God love you for that. That is a ton
a lot of work.
Ton of effort going into that, and I'm glad that the response has been so strong. Again, Lexy Droz, publisher of Demolition Derby Life magazine, online demolitionderbylife.com, and she teased a little bit of some of the stuff that's coming in 2020. So stay tuned to that. Follow along on Facebook, and you'll be right there front and center to find out some of the things that are up and coming as we work through the new year here, and what Demolition Derby Life has to offer. Where can we see you in person in the early part of 2020? You going to be hitting any of the indoor shows? Wicked's got the show coming up in January, I believe, and then we've got Freedom Hall, which isn't too far away. Capital City Carnage is right around the corner. It's like 10 weeks away right now, which is absurd, right?
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Might be going to Blue Ridge Bash. Definitely been considering Southern Nationals in Florida, but I will 100% be at the Derby banquet in March in New York.
Oh, okay, cool. Yep, that's the event, swap meet that Brett was talking about when he was up here, right?
Yep.
That's back, and then the week after that is the swap meet at Paradise, I believe, Ellison's deal.
Was it? I thought it was. I thought one was. I don't know how it works.
I thought Brett was first, and then Ellison's were after.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't remember. What it was. What the dates are. I'm bad with dates. Too many concussions. You know what that's like, huh, Chris?
Yes. Yeah, I got a new car.
Yeah.
It was not Christmas related in any way.
No more deer hunting.
But yes, yeah, I'm gonna stop and get some deer whistles for it. I think maybe
I don't know
maybe
if they
a
work. You
worthwhile
should try
investment.
them. Either that or every morning duct tape air horns you can buy.
Yeah.
I
I was thinking about having, since we know all these derby fabricators, have them fabricate a shelf that I could put behind the plastic front bumper with air horns, like off of a freight train. And just yeah.
Or you could take all the plastic off and put like a Smith Metalworks bumper on the front of it.
Well,
nice big point on it.
The wrecked one that's at my house may have one of those affixed to it, the postable part of your end underneath it at some point, and it's not too distant future.
Nice.
Which would be cool. Did you into Lincolns? You want to build a Lincoln?
No.
No?
No desire.
It's too much work.
Thanks. It was a nice offer, though. If it was, a 60-something Lincoln, I would consider it. But actually, I'd consider selling it because I got one I got to get home and sell. So, anyways.
Jason Sauer was featured in that. Did we say he's going to be on next week? I'm trying to go through my laundry list to make sure we hit everything. I saw the other Jason Sherman was live today, and the Road Rage Entertainment Show is going to be offering free camping this year at the fairgrounds. So they've got camping spots available. There's spots that have water and electric. They have spots that have just electric.
I thought that moved.
It's at a new facility. Yeah, it's not at the Broome County Fairgrounds.
Yeah.
I think he said it was at did it move to Chemung or Shenango County Fairgrounds?
Yeah, I don't remember.
But they have camping and stuff available. So I mean that's kind of a nice perk for those guys. I know when Kings of Old School was at Whitney Point, camping was a very rustic effort, and then things were a little bit better when they went to the Delaware County Fairgrounds. Things were a little bit better in terms of camping, but it sounds like Jason's already scouted all this stuff out, and they're going to have some free camping. The only clause is make sure you clean up your mess.
Yeah. That's tough. Doesn't happen so well sometimes.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Lexy, what else can you tell us about the magazine and the endeavor? I mean, what have been some of the challenges that maybe you had a lot of surprises on the side of good news in terms of the response and people willing to help out, but what were some of the surprises on the backside of putting one of these together that might have been some challenging elements of it?
I think just the business of setting everything up, handling shipping. I mean, I did this for 7 months, and I think this is the first time I ever figured out how to get all the shipping right. The people at the post office hate me. Mm-hmm. But figuring out how to get all those magazines out at once and make sure they're on time and all addressed correctly is the difficult part of this.
Sure. Do you have to hand label all those yourself?
Yeah, I have been. I have a machine that does it for me now, but for the first 6 months, I did it all by hand.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
That's a lot.
Yeah, definitely. How many subscriptions do you have out there right now?
We release a few thousand every month.
Nice.
That's outstanding.
Good.
The subscriptions, are they rotating? Can somebody get in right now, or do they have to start at the beginning of the year? I saw that back issues were available for like $10, which was pretty reasonable considering the size of those magazines. 60 pages is a lot. But can anybody get in at any time and start a subscription, and then they just renew it when that calendar year is up, or do you have to start by a certain time?
Right now I have it set so, you could buy the 2021 in June, and you would get all the back issues from that first edition of the year in January up until then, and then you would receive all the other ones after that when they were released.
Gotcha. So you haven't started printing Volume 2. This is still part of Volume 1? Or are you starting Volume 2 at the first of the year?
At the first of the year will be that second volume.
Cool. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I love all the page layout stuff. That's I am definitely in rare company when it comes to being my degrees of interest and where my geek outs lay in Demolition Derby. I don't know how to weld. I don't really know how to drive. I can't drive very well on the street either.
True.
But I'm just excited to see that the print stuff is surviving as well.
Good. Absolutely. Yeah, it's, whatever we can do, or can be done to get the Derby, to get out to the Derby Nation and make them happy. That's definitely a good thing.
The Southern Nationals is going to be one of the topics that we hit on next week when we have Todd on the show. Have you been down to Florida for any of those shows before?
I have not.
No. Yeah, you got to get down there.
I went. I guess it would technically be the first one.
It was the first
second.
one. Didn't you go to 2?
No, I went to 1. With the year you went to
Blizzard, I went to Winter Slam.
I went down there with Ben and Josh. They had track issues. They tried to fix the track issues last year. This year they're in a completely new place. I believe it's a horse arena, and it looks like it's going to be a fast-paced, hard-hitting show.
This is the third new venue in like 4 years, isn't it?
I believe so.
Because the first year it was at the track that was quite sandy.
Yeah. And
then there was the track that had like the cattle gates around it that you were at. Now they're at a new place again.
Well, the one I was at was pretty sandy as well. That was the problem.
And then they were at the racetrack.
Real choppy. So, but I know, talking with some people, the entry list for Florida is pretty impressive. And again, I don't believe any of the Sciopos will be running down there. So
is Bando going there? I can't remember.
He mentioned wanting to build something and could use it as an excuse for a family vacation. I don't know if he definitely is or not. The last I saw, he was in Nebraska and had shot himself a big deer, so he was pretty happy with that. I've seen some pictures of a few guys, cleaning, getting their shops ready to start building for next year. Since next year is 2 days away, so it's going to be interesting. Going into it with both barrels blazing, it'll be a neat season again.
It sure will. Lexy, is there anything else that we need to hit on or that we should know about Demolition Derby Life magazine?
No, just thank you guys for having me on, and thank the rest of the Derby community for supporting me and pushing the magazine.
I can't believe you're hand labeling 1,000+ issues. That's insane. I'm glad you finally got a machine to help you out with that. Congratulations on the success with this. It's good to see. Please stay in touch as more announcements and stuff are forthcoming, and hopefully at some point we'll cross paths in 2020 and be able to say hi.
Hopefully.
Well, I sure do appreciate it, Lexy. Thanks for coming on the show. DemolitionDerbyLife.com. Jump on there and get yourself a subscription. Lexy, thank you.
Yep, thanks for having me.
We'll catch you later. There goes Lexy Droz, doing a nice job with the magazine. Freshman in college for visual production. It's lends itself well to some of the different niche markets that are happening underneath the Derby umbrella,
Lexy, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sounds like there's not much of a delay tonight.
No, my phone was going off and somehow it ended up on you.
What are you tinkering with?
It was vibrating over here, and I don't know how it ended up.
Mid-show, just had to take a quick Candy Crush break.
I did. Fortunately, I can't win any money on that. So, one thing we missed with last week's show, I know we'll be happy to hear. We got to wish our buddy Jeremy Gully a happy birthday.
Yes,
missed his birthday last week. Now he's in Texas. They were at a Yankees game, Christmas.
Wow,
a Cowboys game.
It's not even the right sport.
Yeah, I don't know. Concussions, man. They were him and George and the wives were at a Cowboys game. Cowboys are out of the playoffs. Doesn't get much better than that.
What was the Giants seed?
Same as Dallas. Wait, you're a Buffalo fan. I forgot. Hey, good season. You guys did all right.
I was having this conversation with my wife over the weekend, and I said that there is no team on this earth that I live and die by at all. The sun does not rise and set over any race car driver, over any team.
How about the Blackhawks?
But I love the Blackhawks, but I'm not tripping over myself to see every game, and maybe I'm not a good fan because of this, and I don't know every player.
Wait a minute. How about Josh Checker in a Demolition Derby world?
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty close to idol worship.
I'm not a fan. I'm his publicist.
Oh, my bad. I misunderstood that. Okay, on with your topic. I'm sorry to have messed you up.
Melissa, man, since she was a little kid, she knew every player. She knew all the records, all the stats. She's known everything. And Alan and Kelsey, who's got her birthday, she's going to be 7 coming up on Saturday, and she's losing teeth like it's going out of style. They are along those lines. And when I was a kid, I was a huge Bills fan, and I was like that. I knew all the players and everything.
That's when you were a kid. They were in their run of being dominant.
Right. I mean, they were local. They were on TV all the time. I had a bunch of friends that were Bills fans, adults, so it sort of was a natural progression. But I went to my first NFL game, and it was the Packers at the Bills, and we were, 25 rows up right around the 40-yard line, and then I started watching the Packers. So I became like this. I started Packers fan. I've been following them for a long, long time, and they're in the playoffs too, by the way. But I was joking with Melissa. I'm like, I kind of married back into this. I can't. I feel really guilty, like claiming any type of interest in the Buffalo Bills. Like
that's funny,
because I this isn't really mine to own. But you're right, they are in the playoffs, and it is really cool. And they're playing the Texans, and I think they got a chance of winning. And my house is very excited about it. And they're playing Saturday, so Saturday we get up and we sit in front of the television until after that game's over, and we're going to absorb every bit of pregame just to hear them talk about the Music City Miracle, the greatest comeback game, how the Bills have been atrocious for 20 years, the pass last year that Andy Dalton threw that helped the Bills get into the playoffs 2 years ago, and just enjoy the ride of it all.
And the whole time you're going to be thinking about Demolition Derby.
Probably. Or answering Facebook messages at 11:30 at night, people about roof sides.
Yeah. Well, you don't sleep, so, you might as well. You're not sleeping anyways. You might as well work
right on artwork. Yep, might better. Why not? Yeah, I'm interested to learn more about that Derby in Wytheville down there when I was with Raceway.
Now, that's an outdoor show?
The picture is of a building.
Okay.
So it seems that it might be indoors.
Because I know that where did the guys from Pierre go down and run in West Virginia? It was Big Sandy Arena.
Yeah, that's a different show.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna. That's the only.
And then there was the Rumble at the Rock show that they had at the Rockingham County Fairgrounds down. That's down closer to where Ed Brewster lives in Rockingham itself, and Brian Schumann used to host that show. And they had that a couple times. Donald Blevins, and the year that I went down there for that, Donald Blevins had a Crown Vic, and Mike Klinger had a Polara with an Imperial subframe in it. And when he hit Donald, both cars were steaming real bad, and there was smoke and everything you couldn't see. And I was sort of jockeying around behind Donald's car, so at least there was a car that you could see in the video. And there was this ominous thunder through all this cloud, and all of a sudden the mangled nose of this player. They got that funny headlight structure where it goes up and then down around it comes just roaring, and it was moving so fast that it actually sucked the smoke into the windows. Oh, yeah. And he hit Donald so hard. It looked like the Dodge was so much heavier than what the Crown Vic was. It looked like he picked it up and threw it backwards. It was awesome. It was a really good finish.
Klinger won.
Yeah, it kind of goes without saying, but yes.
Yeah, Klinger, he does stuff like that.
He ended it in resounding fashion. It was really cool.
We've seen him do that a few times at different shows. Him and Tiffany both are definitely very very good drivers.
He's on the cover of one of Lexy's magazines in a wagon, but I don't know where it was. It almost looked like, the way that the track was, it almost looked like it was from Allentown, but I'm not for sure. It's been a long time since I've been out there.
I wonder if that was one that had the Imperial subframe underneath it.
Good question. I wasn't paying close attention to see specifically what it was. It had been run already, but that's not really a surprise coming out of Klinger's shop.
No, he usually gets multi-runs out of his stuff.
Yeah, he does okay.
They do okay down there.
Yep.
Yeah, we should offer congratulations to the newest business owner in Geneva, New York, Mr. Brown.
Isn't that cool?
Took over, I believe it was his mom's restaurant, Water Street Cafe. Mm-hmm. And I've already mentioned, hey, we should do a crash course out of there.
Yes.
And he said absolutely, and we have a full menu of gluten-free food for Chris.
I definitely want to do that. We have not yet been. We have been prominently featured in a number of bars, but we've never actually done a live show at a restaurant or a bar or anything like that. I think that would be really cool. And James is such a good friend of the show, and outside of Demolition Derby, just been such a good friend for a long, long time. And he went on a run where he was getting lumped up pretty bad, and he became a student of the game and learned what he needed to do and learned how to drive and learned how to put everything together. And he had some really, really good luck there for a little while.
Oh, yeah. He said the last couple of years he's had some really good runs. He's been doing well.
And that's after he won a couple shows in a row, he started getting a target on his back, which made him an even better driver.
Oh, yeah. That's the way it works.
And now here he is, and there's going to be Demolition Derby cars out front of that place for sure now.
Yeah.
No question.
No doubt. And how cool it would be doing one of our shows and you'd be able to eat real food as opposed to, jerky or
when I was in Topeka
cardboard.
last year, I had the rental car, and after we wrapped up our draw show, I went to the Walmart up the street and I went grocery shopping, and I bought food for the week, and I loaded up that refrigerator, and I ate lunch meat sandwiches for lunch and dinner, and I had Honey Nut Cheerios for breakfast every day. But
what was it like to eat and drink like a normal person?
It was so weird.
Your body felt good all week?
Oh, yeah. Like, my voice wasn't burned out. I wasn't tired. I wasn't. It was so bizarre.
Strange.
Rainer said that I should do it more often.
Strange. I mean, yeah, because, with no sleep and, not eating much, because when we get done there at 1 o'clock in the morning, there's not many places open that are gluten friendly. So,
well, it doesn't help that they tore the only McDonald's in the I can't eat at the McDonald's. I ended up at the Denny's across the street with a Superbird, but I didn't even have to go out, But they tore the McDonald's out. It's closed.
Really?
McDonald's is gone. Yeah, so
Whoa.
I don't know where everybody was going to eat. If they were
down to one open restaurant.
It was not easy.
That's crazy. Yeah, this world we live in, man, this derby world is crazy. We all over, and I can't remember. I was somewhere recently in my mind. It's my mind's going with my hair, and we got talking about. Somebody asked me said something about podcasts. I said, I'm involved with a podcast, and I started listing off the places that we've been and the derbies we'd put on. We've announced that and stuff, and they were shocked. Like, it's crazy.
Well,
really.
how many different places have we come across for the folks that aren't the derby hardcore fans? They're not the diehards who have this weird, and I'm as guilty of it myself, and I'll admit it. And Josh said the same thing. It blew my mind when I found out that there was derbies other places than Waterloo. Basically, I had an awareness of Yates County and Ontario County, and I lived in Seneca County. And in my mind, those three with Trumansburg were the only derbies that ever happened anywhere.
Yeah.
And then, you talk a little bit with somebody like Nick Nicastro or something, and starts talking about, Whitney Point. And I think we went to Whitney Point or Bath or something together at one point.
Times.
And then when you're at those shows, Richie Predmore starts talking about going to Virginia, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
And now
I remember the first time Brent went to Ohio. I'm like, wow, you're going all the way to Ohio for a derby? That's crazy, And it's just it really has. I mean, it's it's grown with the it's kind of grown with social media. We're kind of I don't know how to explain it, but unfortunately, as we've touched before, derbies generally looked down upon by other forms of motorsport. So I mean, we've really banded together. Us derby crew, we stick together. We look out for each other when we like each other, and so now we know about all the derbies. We know that there's derbies all over, and hey, you should come check this one out. It's a great show. Or, man, have you ever been to this derby? Or, hey, what do you think about getting a group together and going there? So, I mean, it's definitely gotten, the derby world's gotten smaller. It's cool. It's
social media's helped that a lot too.
Yeah.
Before it was closely guarded secrets, and you had to be on the inside, and all the garage doors had the windows spray painted over, and now it bridged across from the message boards when the internet was first starting to be used for that information sharing in Demolition Derby, now to, I mean, social media's just exploded it. You know, and then the fortunate thing is when you've got all of that electronic information changing hands, that you've still got the entertainment portion that's printed and you can hold in your hand. And I mean, let's face it, when your car is in print someplace, because it's never going to get in your local newspaper. No. It's never. Well, I shouldn't say never. Never is a dangerous word, but it's rare to get newspaper coverage, right?
Yeah, I mean we have our local paper has a guy that covers Demolition Derby pretty good. You know, once a year he's able to get a snippet in there about our hometown derby. I don't know if there's ever been pictures accompanying it. But you know,
definitely.
Is there?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember Spencer has come and shot Seneca County Fair before. Spencer
really?
told us. Oh yeah.
Shit.
Yep.
That's cool. I guess I didn't know that. But
there was a couple of years where in Seneca County, he would come and shoot the heats, and after the Derby was over with, I had to get out of there as fast as I could because I had to get the stuff written up for the newspaper so that it was in Sunday morning.
Cool. Yeah, because back in the day, it used to go late.
Oh yeah, yeah, it did.
It used to go late. You know, it's funny, and you know, if Josh Reel still listens to us, he'll be turning it off now. But I think that kind of trained us for going on the road for Derby stuff.
Tell me more.
You know, back in the day when I started going, you know, and watching my hometown fair, which got me addicted. I went a couple times as a kid, you know, like when my parents would take me, but you know, my parents are more about stock car racing than stock car wrecking. So, you know, once I started driving, I'd go to Waterloo. And there'd be 100+ cars, and you wouldn't get out of there until 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning. And it was like that year after year after year. And I think it got you and me. I think that's what got us ready for the long road trips and staying up for hours talking about derbies. Was our hometown and sitting there watching on the edge of our seat.
I remember when I was a kid. I mean, young, and my mom wouldn't have a choice because I would nag because we lived close enough to where
you could hear it
either at my house or at my grandparents' house, either one where I live now.
Yep.
So you could hear it. So I would just beg until we ended. So it ended up becoming a regular thing. About 10:30 at night, I started asking, "Are we going to be up until midnight?" Because being up until midnight when you're little, that was the coolest thing ever, right? Like usually you only get to do that on December 31st, and
because all sorts of wild things happen at midnight when you're 9 years old. Right? You know, yeah, absolutely. I know that feeling, man. It was just yesterday. Yeah.
What happened to you at midnight?
Nothing ever.
Oh,
though I will say that nothing good is going to happen after midnight.
I disagree.
Okay. But, you know, and that's the thing. I mean, that's, you know, it's crazy. I mean, you know, we've touched on it, and, you know, what this sport means to us, and, you know, the fact that we're able to, you know, travel and cover it and meet so many great people. And, you know, and that's the thing, you know, I thought about after our 300th show, and, if we did, I'd like to apologize. We mentioned a lot of big names in Demolition Derby and thanked, you know, and people that we've met. But we also have met, you know, first-time drivers, guys, you know, that only get to run one show a year, like me. You know, I don't get to run many shows. Great salt-of-the-earth people as well. I mean, we've really been blessed with all the people we've got to meet, you know. You know, we mentioned the big names that we've met, and you know how cool that was. And but I mean, we've met some other, you know, just great guys and great ladies, you know, all over across the Derby world. So, you know, I've been thinking about that for a couple shows and forgot to bring it up. But you know, the fact we get to know so many people and just, you know, be a part of so many Derby people's, you know, addictions like we have, it's pretty cool.
It is. I'm trying to find out if there was a problem. Trying to determine if there's an issue with one of the microphones, but I can go back and check that. There's so many cool things that we've had the good fortune of doing, and things that we've got to see that aren't part of the regular conversation. We've told the story a bunch of times about signing that gentleman's hoodie outside, but I don't think that we really talk about some of the families that you get to meet. One of the guys that comes to mind that's a little bit more further from the center of the radar, like Brent Kershner, great Mopar guy. I met him for the first time when I went down and did a derby in Kempton Township. And like there was no stands at this place. People just brought their lawn chairs and they sat on the side of the hill and watched this derby. And it was just the craziest thing. And he went head to head with Ramrod, Carl Schaller, and Mike Klinger. And he had a two-door 65 or 66 Newport, and he won.
Sweet.
And I'm like, wow, this is the coolest thing because he's driving Mopars. Nobody drives Mopars anymore. And as I got to know him a little bit more, and then I saw him run a bunch of times at the Allentown Fair, and he ran a couple times at the Reading Fairgrounds. But he's one of those guys. Lonnie Beeler's another one. Just thinking about that pocket of Pennsylvania, and they don't get to. They could so compete.
Yeah.
They could do such a good job in deeper water. And get that recognition. I mean, Lonnie's out there running with an open face helmet, goggles, and a lot of times he pulls it out onto the track with a cigar still on the side of his mouth. When he was driving his trucks, and he won Allentown a ton of times. And we were at the Kutztown Fairgrounds, and he came with he always drove square body Dodge trucks. He would replace the body, but he never had to replace the frame. But he would never tell me why.
Good for him. I think they call that seasoned.
He was just such a cool dude, and he went nose to nose with this F-150. It's like a 97 F-150, and Lonnie's got this thing in the bag. It's starting to, the body's all tore up, and the fenders are inching back on it, and he goes nose to nose, and he just stops. And two of the officials jump up like they stepped on a snake from the edge of the track. When he hit, it broke both of the yokes on the drive shaft, and the drive shaft went out like a torpedo underneath the F-150 and went shooting across this track, and it hit a gap between the two concrete blocks.
Wow.
It was so cool. And, I mean, you're never going to see that again. It's never going to happen again. Rick Englehart, at one of the first wheel days that we taped, he had that green Imperial, and there was a Le Mans against the wall, and I can't remember, or something along those lines, like a Cutlass or something, 70 style. And Rick gave him a chance to break off, and there's smoke and steam, and the car's kind of jammed up on the wall a little bit. And I'm like, man, if he hits him again, he's coming into this camera, but I'm not moving. And it was the same thing what we talked about at Rockingham. Rick backed away a long ways away, and you could hear him coming. And Wheel Day's track is huge.
And Rick's motors can scream.
And it was just humming across the track. And he hit this thing a ton and shoved it up along the wall. It was so cool because it's from here to the backside of that camera away. And after it's done, he had backed away a little bit, and the car still sits there. And I went to hop down off of the wall, and he yelled at me to be careful. And I looked down, and the drive shaft was wedged into the concrete blocks. It ripped the back of the drive shaft off the rear end, and it wedged it in the blocks and then peeled it off the back of the transmission. So the car's over here, the drive shaft's just sticking out of the wall, It was
That's crazy.
I don't know if I'm sure we've told that story sometime when Rick was on, but it's just like there's so many people that.
Well, how about the support at Owenton, Kentucky? We went out there. We've laughed.
That was crazy,
and
wasn't it?
We've joked about being on air until 4:30 in the morning.
We still have the truck, that yellow truck that we got from Pork Chop's boy.
But that was like a bowl. The track was down in, and there was a hill all the way around it, except the end where the pits were. And people started showing up hours early and putting blankets and chairs on the hills around it. And there was thousands of people at the beginning of that derby. I mean, it was packed. There was no room. And there was a ton of cars. All the classes were full. And, I mean, I bet you there was still 600 people at 4:30 in the morning watching with us.
There were still kids.
Yeah.
Little kids.
Running around, loving life.
Just bobbing around, covering everything.
And the fact that we used the local judge's wagon to set up on.
Yes. Yep. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was.
And that night in Owenton, it set the standard. We figured out how great hay wagons work because there's space, you're elevated.
Yep.
We ended up using tons of hay wagons after that point. We drug a hay wagon out of the back of the Albert Lee Fairgrounds so that we could set up on the grandstand side off to the corner one of the times we went out for Crossroads on the heels of that misadventure in Owen.
And remember, the only thing we did from the first night to the second night is we moved the wagon up on top of the hill.
Yeah.
Because everybody left. So we moved the wagon up so we had the full view. And, man, was it was awesome.
It was. Man, I haven't thought about Arcadia VFD derbies in a long time. I'm glad they're still going. They were struggling there for a little while. A couple of years after I had quit going down there, not in any way connected or success or failure to my being there. I'm not taking ownership for anything. They were struggling bad, and it's good to hear that they're still going. And
yeah, it's always good to hear when a derby's.
I had no idea that Walls Racetrack had derbies out there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but
yeah, because in theory, could have started in Islip.
I know, right? Islip or Holland Speedway.
Mm-hmm.
There's arguments for both.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Who would have thought that Derby would have started in New York? And unfortunately, some people are still in that era of Derby. But hey, that's a topic for another time.
Who would have thought that I would have gotten 3 deer in 6 months?
Yeah, that's impressive, and I haven't been able to eat any of it.
Nope. Donnie was asking about it. He goes, "Did you at least get to keep the deer?" And nope, I killed it, skinned it, and ground it all at one time. It was bad.
So is Donnie definitely going back to Bash this year?
Sure sounds like it. So I am so glad he came to my house today. I learned so much about 98 to 02 Lincolns and Crown Vics, things that I never even thought of that were absolutely brilliant.
Cool.
So he learned them by going to Bash for Cash last year underbuilt.
Yeah. Yeah. He's been there twice now.
Yeah.
And first time lost front tire, last year lost a rear end, literally.
And he said that he knew he was in trouble when he got there. He got a huge compliment in inspection line. I can't remember. He told me who did it, who said it. When he went through inspection line, they said that he built just about a perfect car. It was to the letter of the rules. Everything was done correctly, and he was underbuilt. And he joked, he goes, "So that's got to be worth like a free pass of the feature, right?" And Tim was right there and leaned over and said, "Excuse me, no."
Yeah, it's he's one of those guys. It's good to see Donnie branch out and go run those big shows. I mean, he's supported every show in New York. I don't know if there's a show Donnie hasn't been to in New York. Realistically, he's been everywhere. Won a lot of them. Always puts on a great show. Usually hauls. Last couple of years, not as many into Waterloo, but he was. Him and the Ellisons were in the same boat. They'd bring one for every heat. But it's good to see him branching out and running other places. And I'd like to see a few more drivers from New York do that. But
he did a lot of that in Shockers.
Yeah.
Now he's starting to get into the Cadillacs and stuff. Last year, I remember he was standing on the floor of his car, reaching in, trying to pull a Brett and adjust the distributor, and he got hit while he was standing. It sliced his arm open. It wasn't last year. That's not right. It wasn't 19. Would have been the year that Ian won.
18?
Must have been. Yeah. Put a big gash on his arm. But, I mean, he ran forever, and couldn't get a win. He'd pick up heat wins and best of shows, but he was always like right there and then second place. Mm-hmm. And Nick had that same stretch. But man, once Donnie broke through, he's won a bunch of stuff, and he's another one of those guys that he probably would have been perfectly content hanging around and running Whitney Point and Trumansburg and Waterloo and stuff like that. But he went out there and he tried it, and he was hooked. Some of the other guys that kind of did the same thing, Butch Sisko.
Yep.
The Gaskins.
Yep.
Any number of the group from Dunkirk. Those guys have last several years have gone out and run that team derby in Sandusky.
Yes.
And it's just really good to see everybody.
Yeah, we've touched on it before. I mean, there's beginning to be quite a swarm of New York drivers that go out to Bash, which is great to see. I mean, the other night I saw Brett was looking for somebody he wanted to build an experienced builder to build a kicker car so he could go run Bash this year. That's I like to see stuff like that. I'd like to see Mark Benjamin do that. I think Mark can drive with anybody in the country.
Yes.
There's definitely a few guys. I think Jake Doyle could go out and do it.
Easily.
I think I think Wayne Ellison Jr. I think Timmy Ellison could get a Mad Dog anywhere. Him and I kind of have the same issues.
How much fun would it be in equal built cars, Tim Ellison on the track with John Muse and Teddy Papadopoulos?
That'd be a good time. But it's and I understand. I mean, we all kind of don't travel for the same reasons, really. But I mean, it would be cool to see some more guys go out and make a name for themselves. I mean, it's it's being proven that guys from the East Coast can go anywhere and win and compete.
Tommy Dowd.
Tommy Dowd, another one, very good builder and driver. I mean, and there's guys we're forgetting, and we apologize, but Jeremy Gully, he went out to Bash last year and he ran down halfway through the truck heat, and I don't know if he scratched the paint on his truck. I mean, that thing was a nasty build. Right up until the point the valve came out through the stack.
I was just going to say, he scratched the motor.
Right up to the point the valve came out the stack. He would have been tough to beat in that truck class. It's good to see guys do that. So, and I would like. I'm selfish. I would like to see a big derby in New York and see guys from out of state come here. See some stuff get tore up, but who knows? Maybe someday in the future.
New York's got to get along with each other.
Yeah, that doesn't happen well.
Not in New York. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's no different take your pick of the type of motorsport, whether it's motocross guys not getting along or whether it's circle tracks not cooperating and working with each other or Demolition Derby. It just does not seem to mesh across the New York's geographic regions.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, circle track. I didn't even think about it, but you're right. It's been that way for as long as I can remember. There was a Downley group and the anti-Downley group.
Yeah, it still is.
Still is.
Still is. We talked a little bit about this as we worked through the first half of our show. Just to tell you about it one more time, Capital City Carnage, capitalcitycarnage.com, March 6th and 7th. Capital City Carnage is going to feature a 10,000 to win limited weld feature, 50-car limit, $2,500 Mad Dog. It's also going to feature a 10,000 to win two-man extreme class, $2,500 Mad Dog award there, 50-car limit in that one. Added this year, front-wheel drive hobo stock and weld street stock. Also on the card is the weld compacts and the modifieds. All the support classes have a 25-car limit, $2,500 to win, and they're paying the top four in each of those. The dates March 6th and 7th at the Stormont Vale Event Center in Topeka, Kansas. Online, capitalcitycarnage.com. That's hosted by Smash It Demolition Derbies.
Did you see the new hauler that I may be getting a derby car hauled on this year?
What?
Jamie Eldridge bought a nice toter home for his wife to, racing her haul race cars with and camping with. I said, that'd look really good hauling a couple compacts and a full size to Mini Meltdown. And he said, yes, it would. So we'll see how that all works out.
You know who's the happiest to hear that?
Who?
Dan O'Connell.
Nah, he'd miss it if he couldn't haul. It would be cool to sit back in the toter home. We could all sleep on the way down.
Right.
Yeah, but
very cool.
Can't wait.
Well, we've rambled quite a bit to celebrate this. Was Demolition Derby Santa good to you this year?
I didn't get anything Demolition Derby. I got a crossbow, so that's pretty bad.
You got a night off.
I did get a night off. Got a crossbow. My son has learned how to weld in his shop class, so he's like, "Dad, let's go over and I'll put half the cage in the car." We haven't made it over there yet. We've been busy with other stuff, so at some point we're gonna go over and he's gonna do a little cage work on my car for next year. Well, this year I guess.
Yeah.
And
in the final hours.
And
29 hours left for 2019.
How crazy is that? In all seriousness, completely off like the topic, but the 2019 fly by for you?
Yes. It was so fast.
Damn. Glad it wasn't just me.
I couldn't believe how fast the second half of the school year went, and then summer was gone in a flash, and we weren't even traveling.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, we're coming up on being halfway through this school year. It's just been insane. And it's been nice. Break has been a little slow, which is
nice.
Fine. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I had
kids have been home, and
by the time January 2nd comes, I'll have 12. I would have had 12 days off, but man, it sounds like a lot now. But you get back to January 2nd, you go, wasn't I just here? This is
right.
but
it's amazing how fast a break or a vacation or whatever goes, and it's strange when you go back to work. You're thinking, "Wow, man, I'm supposed to be going back all batteries recharged and refreshed and ready to go," and you go in there, and it's just like you walk through the door, and all those stresses that were left behind 12 days ago, they're right back there waiting for you, right in the middle of it.
I'm pretty decent. I take a lot of time off in December, and it's, for whatever reason, I just need that time to decompress. And usually I go back in January, and I'm pretty even keeled and don't hate too many people yet.
Operative word.
So, what do you think?
Well, I hope everybody has a great New Year. If you're traveling anywhere, travel safe.
Be safe. Don't drink
be
and drive,
well,
please.
Yep, and we're looking forward to having Jason and Todd on with us next week, and looking forward to catching up with Ed Brewster in the coming weeks. Billy Monroe is going to be on, I think. Our early conversation sounded good, so
probably have to touch base with Tim Clark at some point.
Yep, we got that forthcoming as well. So it's got a lot of good stuff coming along the lines for Crash Course. Episode number 302, however, is in the books. That's going to do it for us here at the North Park Building at Academy Square. We will see everybody again next Monday. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Crash Course Live is presented by Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, hosts of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com. Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel, and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.